just going to say Lakshmi, because I am horrible at pronouncing last names, and she wanted me to try. So Lakshmi's going to do a talk about a little bit about her life, and kind of, I think there's a lot of good little takeaways to do. So please give her the right amount of attention. I'll get your slides up here. And we'll be ready to go. We still get some. And take it away.
Thanks, Bob. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for taking time to be here today. I totally appreciate it. I understand it's really tough to take time away from your routine and come over here. I'm glad to see you all. So without further ado, I'm going to start with my presentation here. So when you look at this slide, if I were you, audience, I would be thinking, what in the world is she trying to communicate here? What's the connection that could possibly be there between apple pie, Jackie Chan, and the Cisco logo, or Cisco symbol? For me, these symbols represents different phases of my life, the life experiences, the disruptions and challenges that I went through, right from my childhood to where I am now, is represented through these symbols, and how I overcome those challenges, how I change those challenges to opportunities and evolved as person in front of you right now from where I was before. So, moving on to my apple pie slide here. Right from right from my childhood days, my dad was a banker, so he used to be transferred once in 2 years. We'll be moving around places. The max I remember living in one place was like 3 years at the most. So that was pretty much like, as a kid, I used to complain a lot, like with all the, not only the logistic issues of moving, like packing, unpacking, settling down in new place, new surroundings, new, city. Also, we siblings, 3 of us, we used to get admitted into new schools pretty much like in the middle of the school year sometimes, getting used to the new curriculum and new teachers and new friends, leaving behind our old memories used to be a pain, or at least I still remember first few weeks of my school, I would go back to my mom every evening complaining about the challenges that I face, and asking her to take me back to the school that I'm used to. And every single time I used to do that, she used to be very calm and composed, very with a smiley face. She used to say, "You have these challenges in your life to make you stronger and greater. You can either keep complaining about the limited resources that you have in life, or you have the opportunity to change those challenges into something bigger to prove your worth to yourself and others." And it didn't strike me, or at least I could not get the essence of it until I was in high school. I remember when I was in junior and senior year of high school in India, we got again moved to a place in southern part of India called Hyderabad. It's in, it was in Andhra Pradesh state at that time. So basically, very soon when I got admitted into that school, I figured out that was a school where there are a lot of students graduated from that school as state rank holders. So or at least the seed that my mom planted in my mind began to evolve, and I started realizing that I have an opportunity right in front of me. Maybe it's happening for a good reason, and I'm going to take all these years I've been complaining about the challenges that I had in my life. Why not for once let me use this opportunity to, prove myself, my worth to myself and others. That's the day that I decided I wanted to get that state rank. I wanted to graduate from that school as a state rank holder. And it was not an easy ride. I had to go through a lot of challenges and struggles since we moved schools. based on the curriculum and also the languages. I had to take a foreign language. There are like lots of things that I had to go through in that the process of reaching my goal. However, guess what? With all that hard work, when I say it's hard work, I've always been competitive when it comes to studies, but aiming for a state rank was totally like, a state of population of like, 3 crores or so. It's a lot of population, and aiming for a state rank was stretching myself beyond that boundary. So that's when I was totally committed, and I didn't think of anything else. At that point, me getting that state rank was everything to me. And the day, I still remember when I got that state rank, when I got that call from the school, I was totally proud of what I could accomplish, and that call was followed by a couple of other calls from newspapers who were calling me for an interview. I was like, oh man, overnight I changed into a celebrity. That's the feeling that I had that day. But then more than that, the proudest moment when the school principal was talking to me and showing me as a role model to other students during the award ceremony, I was thinking about my mom. The statement that she said, challenges exist in life to make you stronger and greater. And I had the choice. The moment I realized I had the choice to make that call, whether I wanted to keep complaining or use those challenges as opportunities to make myself greater, I felt empowered and I chose the right choice. That's what I felt. So that's my key takeaway, one of the key takeaways, which is bigger the challenge, bigger the opportunity. That's how I see in my life. You don't shy away from challenges. Right? For example, me standing in front of you, I see this as an opportunity rather than a challenge. I might not be a good speaker, I might not be doing as good as others, but I don't care. I wanted to challenge myself every point in my life to see where I can go, how much I can stretch myself. So that's one of the key takeaways. So why apple pie? Apple pie represents the motherhood, or at least here in India, that's what I heard from Paul. So that's the symbol of motherhood, and it represents the moral support that I had received from my mom all throughout my life, even today. Like even before this talk, I was talking to my mom. She was like, you will rock. There is no doubt about it. Just go for it. That's pretty much what it represents. Now, moving on to Jackie Chan. Okay. Now, this is the next phase of my life where I graduated and I got married immediately after my graduation from India, moved to US. The place where I had no clue. This was the farthest that I had traveled, and getting into new relationships, the person whom I had never met. It was an arranged marriage. It was total, kind of a dreaming age for me. I was so excited. Okay, I'm going to land of opportunities, US, United States, as every normal girl who first come to US, that's how I was. And especially I've been living in Bay Area, Silicon Valley all throughout my life. So I was like, wow, I have so much that I can accomplish there. So that was the dream that I came with to United States, and getting used to my, setting up new home and no mom to handhold me. But then I had full trust that I have this responsibility. I'm going to make it a positive experience for myself and my, my husband. So that was the main, at least that's how I started my family. And things were going okay, fantastic for 1 year, and then after that, what next? I started feeling that void. I was like, okay, I could accomplish so much when I was a child, when I was a student. How come I'm not able to do anything beyond home front here due to various challenges, like starting from getting driving license to being confined in 4 walls, like the home, where I have few friends and neighbors that I got used to, and everything was, at least initially it was all challenge, but then I did push myself to land in first job here in US without, I'm not sure how many of you would be understanding or relating to it, without having any work experience from India, just solely depending on your interviewing skills and your academics. Getting into it, first job was a challenge for me. I did go through that. Life was sailing peacefully, and then I had my first son. 3 years went by after my marriage, and when my child was about 3 or 4, I had to pretty much, that's when I started my job. And when he was born, I had to take a break again. And then immediately following that, my second one was also born. So I was like, okay, let me take a break from job and focus on my family and invest my time, do things right. The moral support that I got from my mom was an inspiration, so I wanted to give that time and effort to my kids as well. So that's what I focused at that point in time. But as if, like, I don't want to stereotype here, but as a regular Asian mom, or when I was staying at home, I started focusing too much on my kids, and getting myself idle mind doesn't work for me at all. So I figured out, okay, now what am I going to do? Let me use my time to volunteer or give back to the community. And I started volunteering at my kid's school, and also enrolled him. I wanted him to be an overachiever kid. That's how I wanted my dreams to be fulfilled through him. Apparently, I put him in Taekwondo, martial arts. Like, I put him in various classes, but this one pretty much kind of stick to, he liked it as well. So we started going through the martial arts program, and I still remember I used to take my daughter in a stroller, and I'll take him to class and sit through the class completely and watch him do the martial arts. And I, as a kid, always wanted to learn martial arts. That's where Jackie Chan comes into the picture. He is my superhero, and I watched his movies a lot, and ever since then, I don't want you guys to laugh, but every time I watch a movie, I'll be like making all the moves and try to imitate him right from my childhood, and my parents used to laugh, but then I never had an opportunity to learn martial arts. When I started watching my son, do martial arts and right in front of me, Taekwondo, I was like, okay, why not? Let me, I start, okay, my passionate for doing Taekwondo started to surface back. I was like, okay, let me try it out. Worst case scenario, I might not be able to do it, but unless I try it out, I'm not going to know. So that's how I started. There was the 6-month program going on, and I enrolled myself, and I used to really struggle, basically like take care of my 2-year-old and my 4 or 5-year-old, take care of them, take them to classes, ask my husband to take care of them, and then go to the adult class. And it was a struggle every single time I make it to the class. But then the main story I wanted to relate to is the first day of class. When I went into that room, that was nowhere closer to the children's class that I imagined, or at least I was able to see the children's class. So I was expecting somewhat, easier class. But then when I went in there, the first thing that surprised me was I was the only Indian woman in there. There was no other, pretty much at least that day of the class was, I had like a lot of white men, I still remember, and then few women who were not Indian though. So I was like, okay, I really shied, and I thought for a moment that I made a mistake. And when I started to, the instructors, when they started to teach me how to do a front kick, that was the first basic kick that they teach you, I was like, what the things that I was able to do as a child, I was not able to, one was fear, one was the, hesitation. I was nowhere closer to what I thought I was capable of. But then the instructors were very motivating, very supporting, and as days passed by, I slowly started to improve and getting better at it and better at it. And I did complete that 6-month program, moved various belt levels. But then I decided to continue, take it to the black belt program, the black belt first degree level. And things were going okay until about 1 year before I could go to that black belt testing. I started my master's in HR because I was working as a banker and I could connect with people, but then I was not satisfied with what I was doing at that point in time. That's the push, that's pretty much like the fire inside me that will keep me pushing more and more and more, disrupt. I don't like status quo in my life. I'll tell you why later. I still keep pushing myself. So basically at that time I started my master's program, I was volunteering and I had to do some internship part-time as well, and these two kids. And if any of you had done martial arts or at least Taekwondo, you might be knowing, or your kids, there are like different colored belt levels until you reach to the red belt, which is pretty much okay. I spent like about 3.5 years or so. But then the last 1.5 years from red belt to black belt, it's the most rigorous training that you can ever imagine, and they don't give that belt that easily. So it was tough for me, so I decided I'm going to focus on my studies at this point in time and get back into job market. Probably Taekwondo, I will come back, I don't know. So at that point, that was my decision. But then what happened was the moment I decided to take a break, my son, who was about 8 or 9 years old at that time, he didn't understand. He said, if you're not going, I'm not going to go. That's it, period. So we put in the 3.5 years of effort, and we are this close to final finish line, and we both quit. And I had to prioritize my studies at that time. So, but then the lesson that I learned during that time was, the more you let the inertia kick in, the more the harder it gets for you to get back into the system. That's precisely what I figured out. But then again, I had a lot of moral support and motivation from people around me, my family. My brother was doing Taekwondo at that time. He used to push me, take it to the finish line every single day. So finally, after a 1.5 year break, I decided. Also, the other thing what was pushing me was, I've always been on the receiving end, meaning my mom giving me that motivation and inspiration and support. This time I'm in the giving end, which is my son is looking up to me, and what kind of role model am I showing him? What is that I'm teaching him? That's when I figured out I'm going to get back and prove that with persistence, with that effort, you can take it to the finish line. That persistence and perseverance really pays off. And so that 1.5 years of training, when I was doing my last year of masters and this training, and everything was still continuing as is, nothing changed, only my mindset changed, that I wanted to take it to the finish line. That's all I thought about it. And we both completed and took it to the black belt first degree testing a day. That evening we had that black belt tying ceremony. For the first time, I was feeling so proud, not so much this time for me getting that black belt, taking it to the finish line, but being an inspiration and role model for my son. I could be my mom. That's what made me so proud that day, because I wanted to, that's the respect that I pay for my mom. That's what I felt that day. So I was so happy. We both completed, and even now again, like after completing the first degree, we are still continuing with our, we are training for a second degree. People do quit and they don't really, once you reach there, it's good enough. But this is to prove my worth. This is to prove myself that I'm capable of doing, excelling at things that I can, if I put my mind to. So that's where we are. So that's the Jackie Chan picture and perseverance. No matter what, that's something which the Taekwondo teaches you as well. The more you practice, the more you get perfection, the more you excel in life. You do not quit in the middle, and you do not take it to halfway and then say, okay, I'm done. No, that's not what it is. So these are things that I've learned to apply in my life as well. If you put your mind to something, you can get black belt in any field of life that you are working towards. So that's that. Now, that was the picture that when we got that black belt day, and it was very tiring and strenuous. After the whole testing that afternoon, they made us do a lot of conditioning as well, and then comes the reward part. Now, coming to Cisco logo, by now you would have already kind of connected to what I'm planning to say here, or what I'm trying to go to next. Cisco is where I'm working now, but then this has a teensy tiny story attached to it as well. As I mentioned that when I first come to US, my husband was already working here, and he was working for Cisco all along, all these years, like 20 years or so. So when he was showing me around, US and other places, one of the places that he showed me around was Cisco as well, and then the office. He was a manager. He was showing me around his office setup and everything, and then talking about how big is the company, how many employees it has globally, and Tasman. He was like, see, all these buildings are all Cisco buildings. So this was as a person who comes with a lot of ambition into Silicon Valley at the age of 21, 22. You're going to be like, oh wow, that's like immediately then and there I told him, when I was sitting in his seat, I told him, I'm going to be working in this company one day. I don't know how, but it will happen. So he was like, let's get you settled down first, then let's talk about you working at Cisco. But then here I am today as an administrative assistant in Cisco, but then I don't stop here because I don't satisfy, I don't like to kind of be content with what I have in life. That's something which I keep pushing myself more. That's where my dream, from here I wanted to take it to next level. Since I have masters in HR, I'm planning to transition into HR role. I don't want to be, this is just a foot in the door. So I have planned to take it to next level, which is starting my career in HR. And from there, in next 10 years or so, I wanted to keep myself this goal. And this is going to happen. I'm not sure in which forum we are going to meet again, but this is going to happen. I will be, my target is to become an executive leader in one of these big companies that I dream to work for. Eventually have my own company and I'll be a CEO where I'll be, training new junior talent into HR. That's one of my ambitions that I have. So as you can see, I have a plan. You don't, basically if you just keep dreaming and if you don't have a plan of action without a blueprint, you are not going to go anywhere. You can sit in the car and you might dream to go to LA, but unless you have a plan of action, the way how you are going to go make it there, you're not going to reach there. So that's pretty much one of those learnings that I have for you, or at least I learned through my life experience. So my key takeaways for you, or for me, that I learned was change challenges to opportunities, as I was relating to my first story, and then persistence and perseverance until you reach your finish line. Never ever give up in the middle because it's not worth it. You are capable of more, no matter what. Don't stop in the middle. Without a plan of action, a goal is just a wish. You might be knowing that. So if you have a goal, if you dream, never fear to dream. That's how things happen. That's whatever I've dreamt in my life so far, I've been able to realize. That's how I keep, okay, I'm here. Next, I keep improving my goals. I keep stretching it. That's how I go. And that leads to one of my favorite poem by Robert Frost, Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. You might be knowing that. I relate to this, especially in Miles to Go Before I Sleep, I relate to it as we continuously learn every day to go behind, chasing our goals and keep improving and growing until the end of life. Hence, there's miles to go. My goals keep evolving, my goals keep growing, and I have lots to accomplish until the end of this life. And I'll be, until then, a rabbit chasing the rainbow. Thank you so much today for